여러분, 안녕하세요. I'm back. Okay, like I said, I'm going to be more regular. Promise kept. So this video is about living outside of Seoul. I know like as foreigners, we're drawn to living in Seoul because it's fun, it's vibrant. You're almost more likely to find something written in English or Konglish if you read Hangul. It's the city that never really sleeps. When I'm in Seoul, I kind of feel closer to my life back in London because of how vibrant and constantly on the go everyone is. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about Seoul. I'm here to shed light on the much smaller rural city towns in Korea, which I happen to live in. Do you know what? Before coming to Korea, I literally would have laughed at the idea of living in a smaller rural town. Okay, I live in a province called Gyeonggi-do, and within Gyeonggi-do there are several cities. They're much more rural kind of cities surrounding Seoul. I lived in one called Namyeongju. I went through a program called EPIC, and the only thing about that is you don't know where you're going to actually be placed. You can apply for a province like I did, but you don't know which city you'll be in. So everything is sort of like a lottery. So if you are applying for GEPIC, Gyeonggi-do province, be prepared to end up in a place where you probably would not have chosen. And I want to give you and shed some light on the positive aspects of living in a smaller city. So living in Seoul is not the be all and end all of your experience there. And throughout my 2 years, I had some awesome experiences. So I'm here to encourage you guys and give you some reasons why living out of Seoul isn't all that bad. The amazing thing about Korea is that no matter where you go, there's life. There's lights everywhere, everything is open till late, people are ready to go out drinking after work. There's still people outside like eating chicken, drinking beer and having a laugh, and it's like 12 a.m. and these are older people, not even just the younger ones. They're just chilling outside the open restaurants after a hard day of work, and this is a weekday, so it's not like only on weekends that they go out. It's literally every single day of the week. So things don't really close until really late. I'd say like around 1 a.m. actually. And you feel safe because you know there are still a lot of people outside, even if you do come back really late. Another good thing is that you see the same faces almost every single day, whether it's at the bus stop or at your local supermarket or just walking down a route that you always take to go to work, and they will greet you and recognize you. There's this supermarket that I go to close by my house, and there was this lady. This was like my first few weeks, but at that time I didn't know how to say spinach in Korean, and my battery had died, but I was in a rush, and so I went to the supermarket and asked the lady, do you know where the spinach is? I thought it was kind of like a Konglish word, like Korean English, like spinach. So I was like, spinach. She literally looked at me like, spinach? And so she called another one of the staff and she was like, oh, yeah, tell her what you want. And so I was like, spinach? She was also confused. And so she got another staff, and so they came again and they were like, I was like, spinach? At that time, I literally wasn't sure whether I was saying it right or wrong. And so there was one guy who they called. This guy saw me. He looked and he literally turned back round and ran back in the store. And so he came back a few minutes later with his phone and they asked me to type it in, and I typed in spinach, and then they all looked at the phone and at the same time they were like, ah, 시금치. That's basically how you say spinach. And since that day, every time I go to that supermarket, the lady who I approach calls me 시금치. I don't think she really knows my name, but she's always so happy to see me as the spinach girl. Another reason is that it helps you brush up on your Korean. A lot of the residents don't know how to speak English really well. They can say like hi and bye and how are you, things like that, but you can't go beyond that. And so for daily survival, you need to know a lot more. Otherwise, you'll literally be lost in translation, like me and the spinach situation. Now, I can actually say my Korean has improved majorly, a lot, because I needed it for survival. And also, just because I wanted to build better relationships with people. The good thing about Koreans is when they see that you can speak their language and see how much time you've invested in their culture, they want to invest time in you. And even if you just know one word, they get really excited and just start going off on a tangent like blah, blah, blah. Another good thing about living in smaller towns is that things are considerably cheaper. You don't have like the big price tags. You have a lot of local people who are more likely to haggle the prices if you go to like local markets. Korean people are friendly in general, but I can say in my town that I experienced so much kindness. Like I'd be walking down the street and like someone would just see me and then they'd give me like an apple or an orange, or I go into a bakery and they would give me like an extra free bread. Like they're so kind at giving. They love giving things. I don't know, I think it's just embedded in their culture. That sort of act of giving is an act of like welcoming. I think. And there was one day where I was in the hospital. It wasn't really a hospital, it was more of a doctor's. And I was kind of coming down with a cold, and this lady came and sat next to me. She was just wondering what I was doing in that town, why I was there. And she asked for my number. I gave it to her. And so after giving her my number, she kept texting me to meet up. I was a bit like, okay, I'll meet you this day. And so we finally did, and we spoke, and she was so lovely. She invited me over to her house to meet her husband and her son. They had like a mini barbecue for me. It was just amazing how this woman that I just never met before, didn't know, just opened up her heart and her home and her family to me. For what reason? There really wasn't a reason, but that's part of the kindness of people in smaller towns. They're just willing to invest more time in you. Another thing I would say, it's a positive as well. Like a light smile and a bow goes a long way. Like when you smile at people in Seoul, they're just like, oh, what does that person want? Sorry, I don't have any money for you. It's a form of respect and general greeting, so I think it's something you should do. Also, there are less stairs, like stairs. I know it sounds weird, but at the beginning I guess there were a lot more stairs, or just like wonder, because everyone already is familiar with each other and this new person has come in. But once they're familiar with your face and they see you every single time, it kind of becomes less and less of a surprise. Like, whoa, there's a black girl in our town. And you just become another friendly face. So when you're walking through the town, you don't feel like people are staring at you as much. I never felt stared at as much as perhaps when I was in Seoul. Like if I'm in the subway, someone's definitely side-eyeing me, like eyeballing, trying not to make it obvious. But in my town, I can literally walk past and there's no awkward stares. I'm literally just another person, another resident. Last thing is that there are only a handful of foreigners in smaller towns or smaller cities. I know it sounds like a negative thing, but it's actually a positive thing. Most towns or cities have a Facebook page, which you should be able to find if you type in the name of your city in Facebook, and you'll see like there are loads of foreigners there, and you guys can make events and meet up, which is nice. We did that when I first went. I joined the Facebook page and they had like picnics and just small gatherings, and you don't feel so alone. Even though I really enjoyed it and being around other Koreans, but sometimes I feel kind of like I want to be around people I relate with or going through the same situation as me or same things, and we could just talk about stuff that we kind of struggle with or we appreciate. And yeah, I think if you do live in a smaller town, it's nice to join the Facebook group or any sort of group that you can find. No, there's one last one. This one I really appreciated. The landscape in rural towns are beautiful. Every single day on my way to work, it was literally like driving through a brochure, a picturesque brochure. The mountains are gorgeous every single season, especially in the winter when the snow just falls on the mountains and it looks like a winter wonderland. There's a lot more mountains, so it traps in all the pollution in the trees and everything. So all that's left is clean air. We need clean air. It's nice to experience the outskirts and you really get that full authentic experience, which I think you should do if you're moving to any sort of country. Yeah, Seoul's not the only city in Korea. Anyway, if you like this video, thumbs up. subscribe to see more videos because I'm going to be making more. And guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.